The buzzword for F1 2022 already seems to be porpoising. Porpoising. Okay, so we want to know a little bit more about this effect, which actually was coined by Mario Andretti several years ago. But Sam, tell us a little bit about why this is happening on the cars this year.
Well, it does take us right back to Mario Andretti when he did coin that phrase. And as you explained to me earlier, that was a test of the Lotus 80 at Silverstone. Lotus 80 was a ground effect car, like these cars are. And that's a car where the whole underfloor of the car has been turned essentially into a wing. So the whole car takes a wing form. And that sort of sucks the bottom of the car right down to the road. What happens is, as the car gets sucked down by the forces, the downforce generated by the underside of that wing, that floor, the car comes down, gets closer to the road, and then suddenly the downforce starts to build up really quickly, and it sucks the car down really, really fast until the bottom of the car hits the top of the track, and all the air's starved off from it. The downforce is gone suddenly, zero downforce. The car suddenly shoots straight back up into the air. The suspension almost pulls it back up. Car's suddenly high up again, perfect position to generate downforce, sucks itself straight back down. And this movement creates a sort of oscillation, so it bounces away along the circuit. And sometimes that movement can get really, really violent on the car, and it can cause real issues for any driver and team trying to set the thing up.
Well, Joe, you've been looking at it out on track. How difficult is it going to be for the drivers judging the braking points and actually just getting to grips with these new generation cars?
Yeah, it looks rough, really rough. Down at turn one, it's the high speed where it's happening, but the car, it just looks like it's bumping really hard, bouncing, as Sam's describing, and some worse than others. But from the cockpit, I never had the porpoising effect, but I did have sort of bouncing over bumps or some curves or just bottoming out in places, and it's really uncomfortable. It's abrasive, really, for the human that's strapped in really close to the floor of the car. And you're feeling the bumps, maybe a bit of a headache at the end of the day, mostly through your neck or your spine a little bit as well. And whilst you're doing it, the vision's going a little bit. You're going at about 300 plus kph, trying to pick a braking point for turn one. You know your aero platform's a little bit all over the place, which is why that's happening. There's a lot going on for the drivers.
Well, of course, the teams will maybe want to fix it so the drivers are feeling more comfortable, but I imagine there's a bit of a reliability issue in terms of the parts of the cars being stressed. So what can the teams do to get rid of this porpoising effect?
Well, ultimately, there's a bit of a clue when you see some of the footage of the cars coming down the straight here in Barcelona. When the DRS opens, none of the cars are porpoising because they've lost that downforce created by the rear wing and the underfloor working together. So the simple answer is reduce your level of downforce and you'll stop porpoising. But of course, that means you're going to go through the corners slower and you're going to set a slower lap time. But the easy way to stop it and reduce that downforce is to raise the ride height of the car. The height the car sits off the ground, the little gap between the bottom of the floor and the track, is adjustable. There's a minimum level they have to go, but you can go higher than that. And some of the teams are raising their ride heights, particularly on full tanks, to stop that porpoising effect. If they do that, though, they are going to lose so much time in the corners.
So it's trying to find that compromise. But actually, Joe, we haven't seen some of the cars who are experiencing it, we haven't seen them too far down the order, so is it actually worth fiddling around too much?
Well, that's the thing, there's a balance. It looks ugly, it looks weird, it looks uncomfortable, but the car's been doing up to 150 laps a day. So the Ferrari's been porpoising today, looking quick compared to its rivals. 151, 152 laps, that's nearly like 2.5 race distances. The car's going okay, no reliability glitches, drivers are not moaning, they're not off to the medical centre for a checkup of the neck or the back. So they don't want to compromise too much on the performance in the other areas. As Sam said, you can raise the car, but that might make it worse in some of the other parts and you lose a bit of the ground effect downforce. It's a tricky compromise. And also this is Barcelona, where you've got sort of one long straight. Bahrain's up next, there's going to be longer straights. I think there's sort of 2 or 3 areas where it might happen. So it's going to be a bit of a moving goal, I think.
Well, we're going to have to keep an eye on it here and, of course, at the official test in Bahrain. And who knows, perhaps into the season as well. Thanks so much, guys, for the explanation.